because you started speaking.
Oh my word.
You're talking to her before she ever said a word. Sorry, but you did. Let's not be rude.
So you're saying it's a benefit of the city to transfer all of the fire equipment, all of the buildings, everything else, over to this organization, and then draw up a contract with you for the services that we're already receiving.
So do you understand that if we were to, say, transfer the building to the nonprofit, do you understand that that building then becomes eligible for different sets of grants that it's not eligible for now? Right now, it's the responsibility of the city to maintain that building. Most governmental grants will not look at you for maintenance on city buildings. The other thing is, if you transfer that to the nonprofit, it's the nonprofit's responsibility as the landlord to provide a functional facility for the city. So yes, there are expenses that are associated with that, and those expenses have to be paid, whether they're paid in the form of rent or whether they're paid as the bill comes up.
And who would be the head, the CEO of this nonprofit?
The nonprofit would elect its own officers, just like any nonprofit, just like the fire department has done. It's the same membership that the fire department currently has. The city of Powhatan has not been deeply involved in the operation of the fire department in the 20 years that I've been involved with the fire department. And they've managed to self-govern and run a pretty efficient operation, in my opinion.
Well, you kind of operate that operation on your own without city involvement, without notification of the city, setting up your own bank account and everything else, which is against league rule. Yes.
Are there any, it's still a part of the city, fire department is still a part of the city.
Yes, sir.
Are there financial records, has anybody seen where the money goes? That's,
I'll speak to that. In 2007, when you look up nonprofit entities, the Powhatan Fire Department filed a 990. Scott Williams was the first person to do that in 2007, all the way up to 2022, where David Barnes filed the last 990 short form. There was no form filed for 2023, and as a involvement in nonprofits, there's a deadline for that, and that has not been done for 2023. Part of those addendums on those is a whistleblower policy that has been added by the government so that you can report suspected dealings in nonprofits where you can ask and request some things or report to the IRS as a whistleblower. We don't have that form in Powhatan right now. The 2023 was not filed. If the Powhatan Fire Department divorces itself from the city, it is no longer part of the city, and you cannot sunshine or request their records. The city of Powhatan is a governing agency, and therefore under the Open Records Act, you can sunshine minutes, council meetings, treasurer's reports. You'd be very explicit in what you want to sunshine, and within 3 days' time, those have to be given to the person who requests that sunshine. If the fire department is no longer part of the city, those transactions are hidden from the city, from you as a resident. And so a lot of times what you are surmising on the street cannot be verified because you can't sunshine it. So I think that's kind of where the concern is in the area.
So can I address that?
You certainly may.
There's actually a state statute here that addresses nonprofit entities. It is Kansas Statute 45-240, record-keeping requirements for certain not-for-profit entities. Each not-for-profit entity that receives public funds in an aggregated amount of $350 or more per year shall be required to document the receipt and expenditure of such funds. That puts nonprofits who receive $350 or more of public funds right back into the Open Records Act for all their public funds. So, does that address the concern with the potential of moving resources to a nonprofit? Because it won't change the accessibility of records.
Okay.
They'll fall under this statute that will require them to make those records publicly available.
Are those records publicly available now?
They
I've
are.
understood that they've been asked for and never provided.
So there is a rumor that has been going around town
Okay.
that they were requested previously and not provided. The fact of the matter is, a previous mayor requested on behalf of the city of Powhatan, not on behalf of themselves as an individual, but on behalf of the city of Powhatan, city of Powhatan records, because the fire department is a department of the city of Powhatan. Those records were available when requested. They were available through city channels at all times. That has been vetted through the county attorney and through the city attorney at that time. And that request was fully complied with. And the rumor persists
Well,
without basis.
Vicky, as former mayor, made that request, and you sent her a text, and the end of your text says, lots of luck.
Do you have a document of that, sir?
No,
I call you out on that as an outright lie.
okay.
You don't have documentation, I don't believe.
We'll
So
see.
when we asked her, when she asked for it, whatever, a couple of years ago, and it never came up, and then somebody else asked for it, it never came up, I mean, what was the deal with that?
What other person ever requested them?
Somebody from the city requested it, I don't remember.
I don't recall any other request.
So when she requested it and nothing came about it, what was the deal with that?
When she requested it,
Mhm.
those documents were being prepared. I believe there was even a response sent about, timeframe to receive those records. I can't remember if that got sent or if it got derailed in the legal consultation point.
It took that long to get records? How long did
So
it take? to get it?
three business days is how long a public entity has to respond. If they are going to take longer to produce the records, then they have to explain in detail why it is gonna take them longer than 3 days to produce the records. That's the way the
Documentation of
statute
that?
reads. Which part of that?
The whole thing?
The,
I
in
mean,
the statutes.
the part about going past the 3 days, when she requested it, it went for several months of never getting it.
So let me turn the pages here. Because. I believe I got that public record request. Let me see if I got it. Yes, so, public record request, Powhatan Fire Department, City of Powhatan, care of Vicky Schutz, Mayor, dated June 6th, 2023. In correspondence. Dated August 8th. At that point in time, Mrs. Schutz had complained to the county attorney, Kevin Hill, that the record request hadn't been complied with. He had sent Deputy Meyer out to make personal contact and deliver documents. And so this August 8th was correspondence between me and the city attorney, John Fresh, who's the city attorney at that time. And it is a draft of an email that I put together for Kevin Hill related to that record request for the city attorney to review. And that letter, or that email draft, I won't bore you with the whole thing. If you want a copy of it, you're more than welcome to have a copy of it. But essentially, the core part here is that I gather from what the officer said that there's perhaps a personal request from Ms. Schutz behind the form that she submitted. If this is the case, would copies of the requested records be sufficient? The requested documents are only retained in paper format by the fire department, and as such, the originals are not available for pickup in person, which is what was requested, as indicated on our form. And then I asked about the appropriate cost for reproducing records, what's allowable for the amount, and from there, I looked for more documentation, because it's been a couple couple of years, and I was thinking there was more in emails. However, I don't believe that there are. I haven't had the opportunity to pursue an open records request from the county attorney, which I thought about doing. I'd like to see that side of the conversation, because once you start talking to the city attorney and he's talking to the county attorney, then you're out of the loop, and you can only, the county attorney can't talk to you because it's an ethics thing.
I understand that, but what I'm saying, so you're saying this started back in June of what?
June sixth.
Sixth.
The
This is
documents
what,
ever presented?
this is.
I don't ever hear at all what the documents were presented.
The
Yeah,
documents were presented through the city.
Oh.
So-
So by June 9th, those
Mhm.
documents
Okay.
were available for view.
They were.
Okay, and state statute dictates 25 cents a page,
Mhm.
and that is assessed by the person requesting the documents. And notarized copies usually help, so you don't have this smoke and mirrors going on. So do you have a notarized copy of the letter you sent to Vicki, June 9th, within 3 days' time, of what the cost of the paperwork would cost her, because she needs to know it's $15 for copies, or an extension of time, because you need to get the documentation together.
On 2 points, I do not. Number one, because that was the
Okay, so
first,
that's not in compliance.
so, on the first place, that, to my knowledge, is the first time the city of Powhatan ever had a records request presented to them. So,
I may differ that. I was the
Okay.
mayor for over 20 years.
maybe you had
I have
records requests previous to
requested
that.
several times for financials from the fire department, and what you said is, no, I don't think so. Every time I asked you for that.
That also is not true.
Yes, it is true. You said, no, I do not.
Back to your point. So the reason that Mrs. Schutz did not need a reply is because she was requesting on behalf of the city, not on her own behalf. And this is what the county attorney agreed with. If she had requested on her behalf, absolutely. But because she requested on behalf of the city, and the city as an entity had those records, then we were in compliance. It's like me asking
Was
myself
she
for
mayor at
records.
the time?
She was.
And you don't think that her request for the financial records of the city's fire department wouldn't be doing due diligence for
No
the
one ever said she
stewardship of
couldn't
the
have
city?
them.
But you didn't give them to her.
You always refuse to give them.
Wait, I got a question first, hold on, we gotta back up a little bit. You just said that she asked for it on June 8th of 2023, right? That's what you just said?
I'm sorry if I got
June
that
sixth,
wrong.
she requested
June
it June
6th.
sixth, the turnaround time should be June 9th.
June sixth, 2022.
Okay, she was not the mayor in 23, you were the mayor in 23.
I'm sorry, I got mixed up on the years. I'm still having trouble keeping track. This is 2024, Barry. It's right here if you want to read it off there. I'll be glad to give you a copy of this.
But I think the bottom line is financial records.
Sure.
And it's the
We-
fire.
We want financial records from
Would-
GN Bank, Citizen State Bank, and what the city gives and who the city pays.
Would you like to make that request?
I certainly can, but I don't know,
Would be happy to comply with it.
that is the quandary. Because if it's not part of the city, it can't be sunshine. And if it's not if it's a whistleblower request, that involves the state level.
We go back to the state statute. Any nonprofit that receives more than $350 of public funds aggregated, so that means even if it's a little bit here and a little bit there, once they cross that $350 mark, then
I got
they are
that.
subject
I got
to
that.
the Open Records Act.
But
They're
plenty of
subject to it.
discussion. I think the bottom line is everyone here would like to see the financials of the fire department.
I wanna see him right now. I don't wanna see him right now, I wanna see him, but I
Okay.
wanna see him.
Well, I would be happy to have a list of people that request it. The biggest thing on those records is you need to specify what you're looking for so that we can make sure that we provide you with exactly what you're looking for.
Have you got a copy of your things you said you've been sending now with you?
Things I've said I've been sending now
Yeah,
with.
what they've been requesting for, do you have a copy of that?
A copy of the request, I have a copy of the correspondence, email, has the address of the city
Does
attorney.
sunshine mean bring a light to?
sunshine means that there is suspicion
That's a
or
request.
question about
Back
record
pages are digging
keeping
that.
or, due process. And so at the state level, you can be sunshine. School districts can be sunshine. Public, municipalities can be sunshine. Anything that does governing business can be sunshine. Schools and municipalities are the two most common. And then once those things are sunshine, within 3 days' time, they have to be turned around. At a cost to the person that's sunshining them, reasonable cost, 25 cents a page, or you may come in with 2 other officials and view those things within a safe environment and look through those and take notes.
Yeah,
I'm confused. I don't know why the city can't request those records. It has to be an individual.
So the city already had those records.
Where are they?
The storage location for those records is at the fire department.
Okay, I think that's what they want.
So
So the city can't
anytime
request
any of the
that?
city officials want to go look at them, run copies of them, they're more than welcome to. The fire department is a city building.
I know that.
They have free access to it, and anytime they want to come down and access it.
but those records should be kept at the city facility and not.
I would fully support that change.
Okay, so when I said I wanted the records, and you said I needed to say what I wanted for records, I would like all of the financial records from the fire department.
Okay.
Okay. So in 3 days, I'll get some sort of,
You will get a response.
okay,
Please put it in writing so that I have clarification. You do not have to put it in writing. Okay?
yeah,
But it would be beneficial for both of us if you put it in writing, because then you have documentation and I can see exactly what you're requesting and I don't have to go off of memory.
Okay, now, going back to, did you have another question?
Well, I have another comment, I guess.
Okay, well, let me say this first, if I may. In going back to reviewing the records, there is no minutes after that December 12th, 10th vote of the city council approving resolution 2023 R2. And the resolution signed by 3 people, I talked to an attorney, my attorney says that does not constitute a council's approval to pass that resolution. So there's no minutes saying that that resolution is in effect. Yes.
The main problem I have with that resolution is they're giving physically the building, the property, all the equipment to an entity that is addressed in Willis.
Yes.
That building is built with grant money and matching city funds.
Yes.
So that belongs to the city. That don't belong to
So,
a
So
person or an organization. That's the city's.
Well,
so what is the city if not an organization, I guess? It just,
Okay, a different organization.
so,
A private organization, correct? That would not be a city organization any longer, is that correct?
it would not be a branch of the city, that is correct.
So we would have no say, or the city would have no say over
So-
what happens.
The structure designed into the planned organization of the cooperative effort that would provide the Powhattan Fire Department going forward is in essence a 3-legged stool, okay? The nonprofit would hold resources in real property,
And where would those resources come from? Oh,
okay?
the physical.
The physical property, okay? The city would contribute funds, the township contributes funds.
They do
Without
that
those
now.
2 fund streams,
They do that now.
yes, and here is the problem with that. Without those 2 fund streams, the nonprofit doesn't go anywhere. It can't function for its stated purpose, which is on file with the state. It doesn't have a purpose for existence without those 2 funding streams. It can't self-support. So it is reliant upon the relationship with the city and the relationship with the township, providing services to them to be self-sustained. So that gives those 3 branches, essentially it gives the volunteer a seat at the table with the governing body of the city and the governing body of the township to keep that in balance. Just like the government of the United States is set up with the 3 aspect. The problem with the 2-point,
I think they've got that now. I think, you know.
so what we have now is a 2-point system. You have
Who's gonna, you got the city, you
You
got
have
the
the
fire
city, you
department, you got the township.
the fire department doesn't have a say in it.
So the
Right
city
now, the
and the
fire department-
township. But
Yeah.
when you come to the council and ask for so much money, I assume you say what this money's gonna be used for?
If
So
3
we have a
members,
say in it.
if 3 members of the council vote to shut down the fire department, it's gone. There's nothing that the volunteers of the fire department can do at that point.
I understand.
So what is a volunteer fire department? What makes a volunteer fire department a fire department?
Non-paid.
Volunteers.
Volunteers.
The volunteers, exactly. So the most precious asset that this community has involved with our fire department is the volunteers. We can go buy new trucks, different trucks, not new trucks, obviously. We can even put up another building. It'd be difficult uphill, and I don't even want to consider that concept. But it could be done if it had to be. If we don't have volunteers, we don't have a fire department, we just have real assets. And so that is the part of the intent here, is to give those volunteers a real vested interest where they actually have some weight. So if 3 members of the city council say, you know what, we're done with the fire department, we're gonna walk away. Those volunteers, with their assets, can continue to work with the township and continue to provide services for the community. If the township says, you know what, we're done with the Powhattan Fire Department, then those volunteers with the city can continue to provide that service.
What assets would a volunteer have in this organization?
An individual have control of assets?
I said, what assets would the individual,
The individual members of the nonprofit?
yeah,
None.
okay, that you just mentioned, they have assets in the
As,
organization.
as a body, the volunteers, as a body, the nonprofit would have assets. Individuals, no. It's not like they're gonna be, oh, this truck goes to this person and that suit of gear goes to that person.
So that, those assets of the body, that's, the fire department has those now, Powhattan, correct?
Yes, you know how they got them. Community contributions, volunteer effort, primary reasons they have those assets right now.
Well, they're volunteers, right?
And they can walk very easily.
And you asked a question about having the organization in Willis. If you look on that, the Willis sheet that I gave you, look at number 7, you'll find out why he's desired to move this organization to Willis. Because Willis is attempting to build a new fire station.
Can I interject?
Yes,
So that is not the case. Nothing is moving at all.
you got it down here as your goal, sir.
Absolutely. I'm not picking up that building and moving it. There is no way.
Sir,
Um,
you're out of order.
I am
You're
not.
out of order.
I am not.
I didn't recognize you to speak.
You did.
You're out of order.
You did recognize me to speak.
No, I didn't.
Well, may I speak now so that I can dispel some of
No.
your rumors and hearsay?
No.
So,
Wonderful. Let it be known to all the public that the mayor will not.
so for the interested citizens, the reason that there's a Willis address on those documents is because to form an organization, you have to file paperwork with the state. One of the items that the state requires on that nonprofit paperwork is an address for the organization. How do you get an address? You go up to the post office, you get a post office box, right? You know what the post office wants? A physical location. How do you get a physical location? You're an entity, you're a person, you're an organization, you're something that has a physical presence somewhere. How do you get a physical, an organization to gain a physical presence so you can get a post office box? You file paperwork with the state in this case. What did the state need on the paperwork? An address. So what you have on the address is the home address of the principal officer until such time that the nonprofit is able to establish a local address so that they can operate as an independent entity. But all that is
You're saying that.
address, home address of the principal officer as a stopgap to fill the paperwork while you file with the state.
So you're saying that the fire department
Mr.
here
Mayor.
in Powhattan doesn't have a physical address?
We're not talking about the fire department, we're talking about the nonprofit.
Mr. Mayor, the principal officer's home address is their home office. You are correct. Your address should be as the principal officer if you're gonna be the CEO or the chairperson of that nonprofit. However, as a city entity, P.O. Box 124 and this physical address should be the nonprofit address.
The nonprofit is not a city entity.
But if you're going to
That's
try to
wrong.
funnel and triangulate funds for the city of Powhattan for grants, you're going to want to have the city of Powhattan involved.
Yes.
And so you would want P.O. Box 124 or somewhere around there of this physical address. We just opened a nonprofit in Horton, so please don't look at me that way. We've been through this process and I'm trying to explain that you don't have to use Willis's address for the nonprofit. That's the confusion to the citizens of Powhattan.
May I make a clarification? Mr. Mayor? That was a stopgap. The the fire departments, the fire association's new address is Box 3, Powhattan,
There
Kansas.
you go.
It now has its box. They have to go through getting it changed at the state, but it does have a physical, or a box of Powhattan that is its address. So it does have a Powhattan address now.
Okay, I have another comment here on these,
Did you say all three?
3, yeah, Box 3.
these forms I passed out to you here, I was handed these forms and it said by the city clerk here, and she said, these are the Powhattan goals. And I don't recollect any of these goals or this mitigation program being discussed by this council. Now, who wrote up these goals?
I thought the state was supposed to send you something to look over and then you.
So, I say that to say this, these goals were made up before that mitigation, was ever signed.
Do you
Somebody
understand-
had these already in the works to do this.
Do you understand, Mr. Mayor, that the deadline for participation in the state hazard mitigation
I
plan?
understand what he said, that there was, that had to be signed and then, but these forms were made up before that form was ever signed. Sure.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Why,
Why would they have to be?
The Friday that you met as a governing body was the drop dead deadline for the state to have confirmation that the city of Powhattan had any interest whatsoever in participating in the
Yeah,
program.
I agree with that, but these forms were supposed to be discussed with the mitigation officer, what the Powhattan goals would be. Then this form would be drawn up, not handed to the mayor and say, this is Powhattan's goals.
You are welcome to modify those,
No.
adjust those, however you choose. There is a lot that I don't understand about that process yet.
Yeah.
But I also understand
Yes.
that when the, okay, never mind.
You said the goals were in this sheet of paper that you handed us?
Yeah, if you look over here on the left, it says Powhattan.
Well, I don't see it.
Maybe you got a different, maybe you don't have the right one. I don't know. What do you got, Ron?
I don't know, I can't read very well.
That's no different.
No, this is what it's talking about. This is what it's talking about. Here's the goal with it. This is, oh, here. This is just giving what we think. I don't know if there's 3 and 4 up here. No, 4 is here. I think that's what it's talking about.
That column that says Powhattan. Yes.
I'm high school school educated, all I am.